It does not carry the promise of a meal. The scent of burning sulfur is not like the smoke of a cooking fire. It does not carry the promise of a meal or the warmth of a grandmother's hearth. No, this was the smell of the earth itself screaming in agony, a stench so thick it could choke a lion in mid-roar. Have you ever wondered what happens when the patience of the Creator finally runs dry? Do you know how a woman with the dust of salvation on her feet became a silent monument of salt in a wasteland of ash? Stay with me, child of the soil. Before we journey into the valley of Sodom, take a moment to press that like button, leave a comment of peace and subscribe to this channel. Join our circle of wisdom so that you too may learn to walk the path that does not lead to ruin. The sun over the Jordan Valley used to be a blessing. In those days, the land of Sodom and Gomorrah was not a desert. It was like the garden of the Lord himself, lush, green, and watered like the banks of the great river Nile. It was a land of plenty, where the grain grew tall and the cattle were fat. But wealth, my children, can be a heavy mask that hides a rotting face. In the high heat of the afternoon, Lot sat at the gates of Sodom. He was a man who knew the weight of a heavy heart. He had followed his uncle Abraham across many moons and many miles, choosing this valley because it looked like a paradise. But a paradise filled with thorns is no home for the soul. The men of that city had forgotten the laws of the ancestors. They had forgotten the face of the guest and the sanctity of the stranger. Their pride had grown as tall as the baobab, but their hearts were hollow, eaten away by the termites of wickedness. As the shadows grew long and the cicadas began their evening song, two strangers approached. They did not walk like men who were weary from the road. Their stride was steady, their eyes like polished flint. Lot, seeing them, felt a shiver that had nothing to do with the evening breeze. He rose quickly, bowing his face to the red earth. "My lords," he whispered, his voice trembling like a leaf in a storm, "turn aside to your servant's house. Wash your feet, rest your heads. The streets of this city are not safe for those who carry light in their eyes." They resisted at first, testing the strength of his hospitality, but Lot knew the hunger of the wolves outside his door. He pressed them, he pleaded, until they entered his walls. He prepared a feast, unleavened bread, the simple food of the desert, and for a moment there was peace. But peace in a house of stone cannot hold back the tide of a city gone mad. Listen, can you hear it? The sound of many feet, the rhythmic thud of palms against the heavy wood of the door. The voices were not the voices of men seeking a neighbor. They were the growls of a pack that had tasted blood. From the youngest boy who had just learned to throw a spear to the gray-haired elders, who should have known better, the whole city surrounded the house. "Bring them out," they screamed. The air grew hot with their breath. "Bring the strangers out so we may have our way with them." Lot stepped outside, closing the door behind him. He stood alone against the darkness. He offered them everything, even his own daughters, a desperate, tragic sacrifice to save the laws of hospitality. But the mob had no ears for reason. "This fellow came to sojourn among us, and now he acts as our judge," they mocked. They surged forward, their hands reaching for his throat. But the strangers inside were not mere travelers. In a flash that blinded the night, the door swung open. The strangers reached out, pulled Lot inside, and struck the men outside with blindness. Imagine the chaos, the screaming, the clawing at the walls, the men groping in the dark they had created for themselves. "Do you have anyone else here?" the messengers asked Lot. Their voices were now like the tolling of a great iron bell. "Sons-in-law, daughters, whoever you have, get them out. The cry of this place has reached the ears of the Almighty. We have been sent to tear it down to the roots." Lot ran through the night to his sons-in-law. "Get up, leave this place," he cried. But they looked at him and laughed. To them, he was just an old man telling ghost stories by the fire. They went back to their sleep, never knowing it would be their last. When the first gray light of dawn touched the horizon, the hour when the leopard returns to its den, the angels laid hold of Lot's hand. They took his wife's hand. They took the hands of his two daughters. The Lord was being merciful, even when the heart was hesitant. They dragged them out of the city gates. "Run for your lives," the messenger commanded. "Do not look back. Do not stop anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away." Lot begged for a closer refuge, a small town called Zor. Even in his terror, he lacked the strength for the high peaks. Go, they told him. I will grant this favor too. But hurry, I can do nothing until you arrive. The sun rose over the land as Lot entered Zor, and then the sky broke. It was not rain that fell. It was fire. It was burning sulfur, raining down like 1,000 falling stars. The earth beneath Sodom and Gomorrah groaned and split. The luxury, the gold, the beautiful gardens, the proud walls, all of it was swallowed by a heat so intense that the very stones turned to liquid. The smoke rose from the valley like the smoke of a giant furnace, blackening the morning sky. But wait. In the midst of the thundering ruin, there was a sound, the soft crunch of gravel. Lot's wife was running, her breath coming in gasps. The roar of the fire was behind her. The home she loved, the fine linens she had woven, the gossip at the well, the life she had built. It was all being turned to ash. Her heart was still in the city. Despite the warning, despite the angel's grip, she slowed. Her neck turned. Her eyes searched for the glow of the flames. In that one moment of longing for what God had judged, the breath left her lungs. The heat of the air and the salt of the earth collided. Her skin hardened, her limbs stiffened. She did not fall. She stood. When the sun finally climbed high enough to pierce the smoke, Lot looked back. He saw the smoke rising like a black shroud over the valley, and there on the path stood a pillar of salt, a lonely white shape against the blackened earth. His wife was gone, turned into a monument of too late. The valley that was once like Eden became the Dead Sea. To this day, the water is so heavy with salt that no fish can swim in it, and no bird drinks from its shore. It is a silent witness. The earth remembers. The wisdom of the ancestors. The danger of the backward glance. When the Creator calls you out of a season of darkness, do not look back with longing. What is behind you was meant to burn so that you could walk into a new dawn. Hospitality is a shield. Lot's willingness to protect the stranger was his salvation. Always treat the traveler with kindness, for you never know when you are entertaining the messengers of the heavens. The silence of mercy has an end. Do not mistake the patience of the Almighty for weakness. The sun rises on the righteous and the wicked alike, but there comes an hour when the accounts must be settled. Who you walk with matters. Lot's sons-in-law perished because they thought the truth was a joke. Surround yourself with those who respect the wisdom of the elders and the word of the divine. Wealth without virtue is a grave. Sodom was rich in gold, but poor in spirit. True prosperity is not found in the height of your walls, but in the purity of the heart that beats within them.